What if the internet shut down everywhere for an entire week? Not your Wi-Fi, not one country's network. Every connection, everywhere, gone at the same moment. From the biggest data center to the phone in your pocket. Banks, phones, hospitals, traffic lights, grocery store registers. All of it running on a system that suddenly isn't there. Sounds like science fiction. It's closer to reality than you think. Let's set the rules first. We're not talking about your phone losing signal for an hour. We're talking about a complete, global, 7-day blackout of the internet as we know it. No exceptions, no backup networks kicking in to save the day. We're asking what breaks in the first hour, what breaks by day 3, and what's still standing by the time it comes back online, if it comes back at all in the same shape. Ready to find out what the modern world actually depends on? Start with the first hour. This is where most people expect chaos, and they're right, just not in the way they picture. It isn't explosions or blackouts, it's quieter than that. Payment terminals start rejecting cards because they can't verify your bank balance. Rideshare apps stop matching drivers to riders. Streaming stops mid-episode. Group chats go silent. For most people, the first hour just feels like an inconvenience, the kind of thing you'd complain about at dinner. Nobody's panicking yet. That comes later. By hour 6, the cracks widen. Hospitals that rely on cloud-based patient records lose access to charts, lab results, and imaging, forcing staff back to pen and paper for patients they've never treated on paper before. Airports' grounded flights aren't unheard of during real regional outages because modern air traffic coordination, ticketing, and even fuel logistics all lean on constant connectivity. Grocery stores with cloud-based inventory systems can't restock shelves accurately because nobody knows what's actually in the back room anymore. None of this is hypothetical exaggeration. It's simply what already happens, in miniature, during real regional shutdowns. By day 2, the damage stops being about convenience and starts being about supply. Shipping containers still physically move, but the tracking systems that tell ports which container holds what sit frozen mid-update, turning organized logistics into guesswork. Truck drivers who rely on GPS routing and digital dispatch systems fall back on paper maps and radio check-ins, the same tools their predecessors used decades ago, except now far fewer people remember how to use them well. Factories that order parts automatically, the moment inventory dips below a threshold, stop ordering anything at all, because the software making that call has no way to place the order. Nothing catastrophic happens on day 2. It's slower, quieter, the kind of failure that doesn't make headlines until you notice the shelves look thinner than they did the week before. By day 4 or 5, the strain compounds. Payroll systems that run on scheduled online transfers stall, leaving workers uncertain when or whether they'll be paid. Small businesses that depend entirely on online ordering platforms lose their only sales channel for the week, with no easy way to reach customers who don't already have their phone number. None of these failures are dramatic on their own. Stacked together, day after day, they start to look less like an inconvenience and more like a slow-motion emergency. And that's the pivot point of this whole question. We don't have to imagine this from scratch, because it's happened before, just never everywhere at once. In January 2011, Egypt's government ordered internet providers to cut access almost entirely for 5 days during nationwide protests, and the country's economy took a measurable hit within days as businesses, banks, and export logistics ground to a halt. In November 2019, Iran shut down its own internet for about a week during fuel price protests. An independent monitoring group, NetBlocks, estimated the daily cost to Iran's economy at roughly $61 million, just for one mid-sized country, for one day. Now scale that up. A study from the Brookings Institution tracked 81 government-ordered internet shutdowns across 19 countries over a single 12-month period and estimated the combined economic damage at more than $2.4 billion. That's dozens of partial regional blackouts, not the entire planet, not 7 days. When researchers model what a full, highly connected country would lose from just one day completely offline, the estimate lands somewhere around $23 million for every 10 million people, and multiply that by a week, by every connected nation on Earth simultaneously, and you're no longer talking about an inconvenience. You're talking about the fastest, largest simultaneous economic disruption in modern history, unfolding in real time, with no single government to blame and no single system to fix. But here's where the story gets more interesting than pure destruction. Not everything stops, because the internet, for all its power, was actually built to survive exactly this kind of failure, just not usually all at once. The core design of internet routing, developed originally to survive a Cold War-era attack on any single point of the network, means there's no one central switch anyone could flip. What we're describing isn't a plug being pulled. It's every regional piece of a decentralized system failing independently, all at the same time, which is a very different and far messier scenario than a single blackout. And some things genuinely hold. Landline telephones, where they still exist, largely run on separate infrastructure and would likely keep working. AM and FM radio stations broadcast over the air, not through data centers, so emergency broadcasts could still reach people with a battery-powered radio. Physical cash still works at any register willing to accept it without card verification. Paper maps, printed schedules, and human memory suddenly become critical infrastructure again, the same way they were for most of human history until about 30 years ago. Even within the tech world itself, some systems are built with exactly this scenario in mind. Ships at sea navigate using satellite positioning that doesn't depend on the internet at all. Power grid operators in most developed countries maintain manual, non-networked override controls specifically for situations like this, precisely because engineers have long assumed a total connectivity failure was possible, even if unlikely. That's the twist worth sitting with. A week without the internet wouldn't erase civilization. It would reveal exactly how much of modern life we've quietly, gradually, handed over to a system most of us never think about until it's gone. Supply chains would stumble but not vanish entirely, because plenty of logistics still runs on phone calls, radios, and decades-old backup procedures nobody has needed in years. Hospitals would slow down but not collapse, because trained staff still remember, or can quickly relearn, how medicine worked before every chart lived in the cloud. The world wouldn't end, it would just get dramatically uncomfortably slower and far more local, for exactly as long as the outage lasted. And that's really the answer to the question we opened with. A week without the internet wouldn't be a single dramatic collapse. It would be thousands of smaller failures happening at once, in systems most of us forgot were ever connected to it in the first place, followed by an uneven patchwork recovery as engineers rebuild connections region by region, network by network, with no simple switch to flip back on. It's a strange kind of mirror for how we live now. We tend to picture our dependence on the internet in terms of entertainment, scrolling, streaming, staying in touch. But the real dependence is quieter and deeper than that. It's in the payment terminal at the pharmacy. It's in the hospital chart nobody printed a backup of. It's in the traffic system nobody expected to need a manual override. It's in the small business owner whose entire customer list lives inside an app instead of a notebook. Redundancy, real redundancy, the kind that keeps a system alive when one part fails, isn't something you notice until the day it's missing. We spent 30 years building a world that assumes the connection will always be there, and most of the time, that assumption has served us well. This scenario is simply what happens the one week it doesn't. So the next time your Wi-Fi blinks out for 30 seconds and you feel that flash of irritation, you'll know what you're actually annoyed about. Not the inconvenience itself, but a small, honest reminder of just how much invisible infrastructure the modern world quietly leans on every single second. What if the internet shut down everywhere for a week? The honest answer isn't that everything would end. It's that we'd finally see, all at once, everywhere, exactly how much we built on top of something we never expected to lose.